So we started a conversation on the arts and culture taking place in Calibishie. We can talk about Dominica, but let's focus on Calibishie at the time. And our discussion will lead us into a music swing that had been happening in Dominica. The Counter Calypso started in 70s, 72, 73, somewhere thereabout by Gordon Henderson and Exile One in France. That music would have sparked a fire in Calibishie also through our Solid 7 that I will speak about a bit later in the program. I'm just showing you how connected that we were as a community to the wider world happenings. Calibishie was like a first-rate village. We were not behind in anything. We were part of it. Out of many bands which existed in Calibishie, in Dominica, Calibishie had a band called Solid 7, and that band was about one of the better Cadas bands in Dominica. And I will try to find reasons why I think the band did not succeed, and we will, reason about it later on in our discussion series. But let us talk about the entertainment centers which were in Calibishie back in the 1980s. I'm not too sure which one came first, whether it was My NS or NS, the disco by My NS there. My NS had a shop right across from Idalin, I said so before, across from where King had his little house, Manuela, and Man, Big Boy. Well, right across there was a shop, one of the most famous shops in Calibishie. I mean, Makikit and them, Dula, Ford, and so had shop. I can call all the shops, but I think My NS shop was more central, and My NS was a really conscious shopkeeper. I can tell you about My NS shop, how it was set up. I can tell you where the scale was, where the boko of rum, Sukuni and them used to be siphoning every time they wanted rum was, where the window was, where the side door was, where the front door. I can give you a full description of the shop right now in live and living color, and tell you how my NS used to speak, how she would refer to us when we come to ask for like a Kwedi, and so on. I think, if I'm not mistaken, my NS was from Marigot, or from one of the villages north of Calibishie. Or was it her husband NS who was from up there? I think it was my NS, maybe Marigot or Wesley, but she had this little patois talk about her, brown skin lady, darkish brown skin lady, walk with a little bend sometimes. She was not older, but she was just very, 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 when it comes to business, she was old school. And my NS wasn't plain. She would give you the Kwedi, but she would give you a piece of her tongue to take to your mother before you get the Kwedi. So by between my NS house and that shop, there was a disco, a big enough disco. I am not too sure whether my NS owned it. I believe she might have. I cannot talk about ownership now, because back then, people like Garnett, Gerald and I would be dancing, and Carl Jacobs too, would be dancing, break dance in the disco. Because Michael Jackson was the thing, Thriller, and Beat It, Billie Jean. That was our time. I'm telling you, early 80s, So there was a disco there. And that's where we used to take our food. Backstreet had its own disco. That was Backstreet Disco. Made out of bamboo. An upright post with bamboos turned in out. And the counter, I can tell you all about disco, how it was. I mean, and so on. So that disco used to swing. And that's where we used to take our food. As children, during the daytime, early afternoon, sometimes on weekends, but we have to leave by 8 o'clock. We have to clear the disco for bigger people to come to dance at the disco. We never knew what went on at nights at the disco. We only knew the disco during the day, matinee time or early evening. And when we became bigger boys, we could do nights. But we could not be in the disco together with big people, And they swept it clean the next day. We go in early, we do all the dancing, our Thriller, our break dance, and we leave early so that the big people can come and dance later on. So that disco at by my NS there, I think it was the first disco we had. And then Bristol, Lawrence opened a disco at Live Yedu, right across from Ma Afed and Afed House, right there, closer to the sea. And that was a disco. Bristol did it a bit differently. He used telephone posts as his uprights, and he also used bamboo, and he had galvanized for the covering. And Bristol used to have big dance. Bells combo, and so used to come and play by Bristol. Bristol used to be breasts, not just from people from Calibishie. The Miners disco was more local, but Bristol disco was international. And I'll talk to you about how the disco developed and how Teddy Lawrence came on the scene, a white lady from the US who got married to Bristol. And I will not talk too much about that, but I will talk about Teddy because I know Teddy very well, in terms of the involvement in the community and things that started happening after that. And then we can talk about how the other people started coming into Calibishie and buying lands in Calibishie, how Calibishie became a major real estate, and who sell land and how the idea changed. All of that we're going to explore, because we have to understand how Calibishie changed, what Calibishie is, what Calibishie was, and probably what we can do to sustain the Calibishie that we still have today. But we'll continue in the next episode here on Calibishie Chronicle.